story, and it's a long story. I was just thinking, this has got to be the strangest miracle story I have ever heard. Because the actual healing itself is such a small part of the story. He sees this man who has been born blind. He gives him instructions. He actually makes like a mud poultice and puts it on his eyes, which is an unusual kind of thing. Usually he was healing simply by touching people. But there was a little ritual involved here, and he had to put the mud on his eyes, and he had to go to a certain place and be washed. And the reason he was sent to that place was because the word Siloam means sent. So there's kind of a double meaning here, that Jesus was sent by God, and one of his works was healing, and part of being healed was to be sent to the place called Sent in order to wash the mud away and to be healed. To me, this is a story in itself because it's an unusual way to heal. And there are a lot of undercurrents here about a man who was born blind. Okay, so he was blind from birth, and he was recognized in town as a beggar. So often in the social structure of communities in this time, people who had a disability of some kind and were deemed unable to work were given actually a specific place in town to sit and to beg. And that was their job, and that's how they earned their money. And they were recognized as beggars doing their job, and they were paid to do it. In other words, by begging for alms, they were given money, and that was their pay for the day. So there's an interesting dynamic here that we have a man who was born blind, whose only position in life was to sit by the road and beg. And now that he can see, what's he going to do? Because he has no skills. So there's this sense that he's on a path that's unknown to him. Okay? So there's this other beautiful dynamic of the story of being healed, that it can put you on the path to the unknown. And this in itself is kind of a story. But no, because now we have to hear the rest of the story, which is how this one healing impacted not only the community he lived in, his family, his friends, his neighbors, the Jews, the Pharisees. All these people become part of the story because healing evidently is not so simple. Now, he healed, number one, he healed on the Sabbath. And we do have in our Gospels several stories of Jesus performing healing on the Sabbath. And when he is confronted by the Pharisees, because healing is considered a work, and we don't work on the Sabbath, that Jesus is being accused of violating the Sabbath. And he usually answers them in one sense of who would not, if your ox had fallen into a ditch, would save them, even if it's the Sabbath, because you can't afford to lose an ox. They're important to your work. Okay? So what he's saying is, yeah, the Sabbath is the Sabbath, but sometimes there are things that are more important than that particular law regarding the Sabbath. So we have that in our mind. As readers of the Gospel, we have this in mind. There are things that are more important than the law or the rules. Okay? But because of this stickly little thing, this just grows into a big story of its own. Because Jesus is now being followed by the Pharisees. He's now being kind of spied on. He's being stalked in a way. And so the Pharisees are looking for anything that they can pin on him so that he will not be revered by the people. And at the end of the story, remember they're talking to the blind man, they're saying, we are disciples of Moses. And if you're a disciple of Jesus, basically, you're not a disciple of Moses. Okay? So you're either in or you're out, according to how you observe the Sabbath and according to who you give allegiance to, Jesus or Moses. So, what we have here, in some ways, is a metaphorical story. Because a lot of what we're singing about today and a lot of what we're praying about today is that one little statement of Jesus who says, as long as I'm in the world, I am the light of the world. And we all know that if you close your eyes, you can't tell where you're going. If you're in the dark, you can't see where to go. So here's a metaphor. A metaphor. I am the light, and I will show you the way. And the Pharisees, in this story, do not have the light. And for the life of them, and for all that they've spent their lives learning, they can't see the way. And so we have a blind man who can now see the way. His eyes have been opened, his eyes take in light, and he can see where he's going. And this just stirs up all kinds of stuff. Because according to the story, according to what John is expressing through his gospel, you are either a follower of the way or you are lost in the dark. And the Pharisees, disciples of Moses, who see themselves as the followers of the ways of Moses and the law, are now in the dark. And the blind man, who's starting to wonder about Moses and the law and the Pharisees, is now walking in the path of light. So John is taking concepts of light and darkness, flipping them right over. Okay? Now John, to whom this gospel is attributed, as were all of the apostles, was Jewish. And he would have been raised in a Jewish home. And he would have been raised according to the laws of Moses. So up until the time that he was met by Jesus, he was enlisted by Jesus, he was a disciple of Moses. And now he is a disciple of the light. And he, through his writing, through the writings that were collected and became then published under his name, was seeking to help people have that same experience of light through his writings. And this story was a story of understanding what light really is. And understanding that until you have that experience of Christ, that experience in your heart, your eyes are closed. You don't see the way the world is, the way that God wants the world to be, the way that God created the world to be, and chooses the world to be in the future and forever.
That's an amen there.
I know, he's going to get hands here. He's been smiling until I started talking about Pharisees. And then kind of went sour. He's good. We're good now. Okay. So, John's is a gospel of metaphors and symbols. And the symbol, of course, in this story is light and darkness. Some of the interesting dynamics of the story that just lend it texture and lend it a quality that kind of puts us on edge, is number one, his friends and neighbors, people he's known all his life, can't recognize him. Okay, some people say, aren't you the guy who was blind from birth? And so that there's some credulity here, but there's a recognition. But others go, they can only see this man in terms of his blindness. Because he's not blind anymore. It couldn't be him. It's just someone who looks like him. Because this guy can see and our friend can't. Okay, so there's that sense that they can't see who he really is. So there's some blindness going there too. Okay? When they call his parents forward to prove that this man is the man he says he is, and they ask him, is this your son? And they say, he is our son, and yes, he was born blind. But because there's a lot of controversy surrounding Jesus and his works, and because the Jews are starting to sort of rumble and grumble against him, they're standing trembling in their sandals because they know that they could be put out of the synagogue for saying he was healed by Jesus. Praise the Lord, amen. So what did they do? Their blind son, whom they had to take care of intensely from birth, they pretty much put him on the spot. They say, talk to him. He's old enough. He can speak to him for himself. Keep us out of it. So this whole sort of nuanced underground rumbling is causing them to quake a bit themselves. And because of their fear, they put him out there on his own to answer for himself. And all he can say over and over is, it's me. I was born blind, now I see. Yes, I'm the one. I was born blind, now I see. And he says, at one point, I love this part of the story, he says, you keep asking me to tell the story. Would you like to follow Jesus too? Is this why you're asking me? Because you're curious? Because you want to know about Jesus? I'm not sure whether he's asking this sincerely or whether he's really trying to say something here about them and about their motives. And this idea that, and this is one that's still troubling me this morning. I was driving home, but I'm still not sure what's going on here. That Jesus says that because you live in sin, you can see, okay, because of the work of God. But those who see themselves not in sin are the ones who cannot see. So there was a bit of a twist there. I think I just telling it to you, I think I figured it out. And again, it's a metaphorical thing. It's the people who see themselves as without sin are blind. Because no one is without sin. People who acknowledge within themselves that they are with sin. And I kind of feel compelled to say here that the Greek word for sin simply means miss the mark. It means you aimed your arrow and it went this way. It means your ability to hit that mark, just not quite there yet. You made a mistake. You didn't calculate. There's that sense that it's not so much an inherent wickedness, but an inherent lack of complete directness that allows you to make mistakes, that allows you to do wrong things, that allows us to hurt others' feelings, that allows us to be defensive and self-protective. Okay? So when we live that way and we acknowledge it, and we acknowledge that Christ is that light that guides us to our own mercy, to understanding that when God has mercy on us, we have mercy on ourselves. then you are seeing. So the light reveals us to ourselves for who we really are, and also reveals to us all that we can be. And those who choose to see themselves as sinless because they follow Moses, they're really blind. They don't get it. They don't see a thing like they're supposed to see. And that's when Jesus says, as long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world. I show the way to God. And that's why we are here this morning. Because we acknowledge that without light, we are lost in the dark. And we come together week after week. And we come together between Sundays to build each other up and to provide companionship and to provide support. Because we all know that we can't live without that light. That light that comes through the Word, that light that comes through song, that light that comes through our wisdom and our knowledge and our understanding that we gain from reading our scriptures. That is our light on this kind of dreary, dark day that makes it so easy to forget that spring started a week ago. We just remember that on the other side of those clouds is light. On the other side of our blindness is light. And it is the light of our world, our hearts, and our lives. Praise be to God. Amen.